Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got an awesome episode today. We've got Eric Schiermeyer and Jason Brink from Gala Games, and we have Luke Mulks from Brave, who's been on the channel before. So to all of you guys, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be
Thanks for
here.
having us.
Awesome. Yeah, and so the topic of today's conversation is about one of my favorite topics, and that is the intersection of the gaming world and the blockchain world and all the different use cases and benefits that blockchain can bring to the world of gaming. And so the folks on the phone today are going to talk about that. And so first and foremost, let's just do a round of introductions. Eric, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric. I'm the CEO of Gala Games. I have been an entrepreneur in the internet space for quite a while now. Two companies you may have heard of. I was one of the guys who started the company that built MySpace, and I also started a company called Zynga, which is a gaming company as well.
Awesome.
I'm Jason Brink. I'm the CMO of Gala Games. I've been working in the blockchain space since 2014 in a variety of different capacities. I'm really enjoying the gaming intersection of gaming and blockchain as well because of the wonderful user experience that it brings.
Yeah, definitely. All new, a whole new world. Luke, you want to finish it up?
Sure, yeah. I'm Luke Mulks, Director of Business Development at Brave. I work on strategic partnerships, bringing new business lines to blockchain utility and getting that into as many people as possible.
Awesome. If you're watching and you haven't tried it, download Brave. I'll leave a link in the description. Best browser. Awesome. So the quick shout out there. Now I wanted to start off, by saying, if you go to the Gala Games website, one of the first things you see front and center is the big numbers, right? It's the 14 plus $billion industry that gaming is, and then all the different utility that blockchain can bring, like we talked about in the intro. So how is Gala Games going about that challenge of bringing the user experience to the level that everyone can access this type of technology in the gaming world?
Well, I think the key thing to remember here is, when you play video games today, nobody says they play TCP/IP games,
Yeah.
right? But everybody does, and most people don't really pay attention to the underlying technologies that build the games that we play, or even a lot of the online experiences that we have right now. And the way that I see it is blockchain is probably going to be something similar to that. It's a fundamental technology that is going to change everything about the way we think about online gaming. But I predict nobody will be really talking about blockchain specifically as it relates to games 5 years from now. So it's a radical shift, but it's going to be something that disappears into the background, because what people will ultimately care the most about will be whether or not they like the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it should be. The technology shouldn't mar the experience or color the experience more than anything else, right? It definitely should be game oriented. And when it comes to, I guess then the tricky part is, how do you market some of the value add that might come from things like crypto, collectibles, etc., and abstract away some of that complex, jargony like stuff that comes out of blockchain?
Well, I think the beautiful thing about this is that it's really simple. You actually own the thing that you have. So the way I like to describe this is, if let's say you buy a toy for your kids, or your nephew or niece or something like that, right? And if the toy store could come into your house whenever they felt like it and take that toy away because your niece or nephew allowed their friends to play with it, or God forbid they sold it to a buddy of theirs at school, I think we all pretty much realize really quickly that there was something fundamentally wrong with that. But that's pretty much how it is today, where the App Store can just reach into your phone and delete an app if it so desires. And so I think that ownership is the key here. That once you own something, that's it. We can't take it away from you.
Right.
And that's the exciting thing about it, that I think.
Yeah, true ownership of the things that you've earned through the digital domain, I think, is definitely a thing that most people aren't used to. You get in-game items, but not only is the utility limited to that one sort of isolated, siloed place where you can play the game, but you really don't have custody of those in-game items whatsoever. So I definitely think there's a lot there.
I was just going to say that one of the things that I find most appealing about the concept of ownership is that if you decide to stop playing a game, you don't lose all of those items. You can pass them on to somebody else, and you can still regain some of your original utility from that experience.
Yeah, and I would foresee probably being able to then carry items from one generation of a game to the next, or to move items between games that all come from the same studio. I think there's a lot of really cool things you could do there. But Jason, from your perspective, coming from, I guess, the marketing side of things, where do you see the most interest? I know there's like some sort of mini industries within the gaming industry itself, maybe different genres or different populations. Where are you seeing interest in this type of thing?
I think that from a perspective, when we look at this, when we look at the gaming communities that are out there, everybody has interest in collectibles that can tie into their specific games, whether you play first person shooters or strategy games or really any type of game at all. The concept of owning your own assets is massively, massively important. And it's a game changer. I mean, we have people come into our Discord every single day that talk about how, you know, they used to be normal gamers and then they started playing blockchain games and it changed everything, and they just simply can't make themselves go back to play the old games that they used to play because they feel that they're getting cheated. And I think that understanding that is a very fundamentally important thing to when you look at blockchain and gaming and asset ownership. So it's really all gamers everywhere. There's 2.4 billion gamers on the face of the planet. They should all own their stuff.
I totally agree. And Luke, from that perspective, talking about ownership and the ability for you to have access to these types of games, how much interest are you seeing from the some odd millions of users that use Brave all the time? Are there people asking you, hey, can we get deeper integrations with different gaming companies that are in the blockchain space?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things here, right? Like one, it just really plays well into the ethos of like, you know, you own your data, you control your data, you control your destiny kind of thing. And there's always an interest in the community to increase the BAT utility and generate more demand for BAT. So, you know, the idea that BAT could fit into these, what they're doing with blockchain gaming is like really interesting to us. I mean, and the other point being that, you know, most of these blockchain gaming games are accessed through web browser. And so, you know, Brave provides a really kind of a nice entry point where we already have a native wallet. You know, there's a high degree of crypto savvy among our user base. But I mean, the owning the game piece and the piece that you guys just touched on is a big one, right? Like people don't even necessarily realize how little they own until they start to play something where they actually own it. And it's a similar thing to what we've done with advertising, where you know, you've got this, everybody's getting their data collected, they don't realize it, you have control of your data in Brave, you know, we've got a new way of doing it. And just like Eric said earlier, you know, it all should just fade into the background. It should just be about the experience. And so ways that we can introduce and surface gaming to our user base that already, you know, from our own studies is very into gaming anyway, like showing them that they can tie these two things together is like a big deal for us. And so, yeah, we've been really excited. This is, you know, we're looking at this as a long-term thing, and yeah, we just want to see how many more people we can bring to it. But the demand has been good so far, and we've seen quite a lot of good engagement and activity from the announcement.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then Eric, I was curious from your background in gaming, obviously well-established gaming companies that you've created. What are some of the shifts that you've seen in not only like the demographics that play games, but also some of the more, you know, detailed data points behind how people interact with games and what people want out of games that maybe drove you to create Gala in the first place?
So yeah, I think I got the question. The thing that really struck me the most was realizing that the secondary market for games was over $50 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably one of the most aggressively ignored pieces of information that I'm currently aware of. That there is a market out there that's not really being served by any one or any group of like professional entities, or entrepreneurs who think that there's something there. And when I started to dig into it, my son plays Fortnite, and he wanted to get a season 1 skin, and it became pretty clear that when I was trying to buy one of these skins, who I was dealing with was most likely a hacker. And we started to hear reports from various people that, if you didn't end up buying that account, they would probably immediately report you to Epic, claim their account, and keep your money. And so there's this massive counterparty risk happening in this enormous industry, right? So not only do you have TOS violations suppressing the whole thing, you have hackers and counterparty risk suppressing it as well. So it doesn't take much imagination to think about what could happen if you removed the counterparty risk and removed the TOS violations. Does this $50 billion a year market go to 100 billion? Does it go to 500 billion? We know there's billions of gamers out there, and we know that everybody that we talk to would much prefer to actually own something than just to light a bunch of cash on fire and then throw it away.
Yeah, into the ether.
Yeah. So what we're already seeing is our average revenue per daily active user much higher. We're seeing conversion rates that are just inconceivable in the free-to-play game industry. Our retention is incredible. Everything about blockchain games is what games really should be, and people feel it on an intuitive level. So if you go to Gala and you acquire something that's on the blockchain and you actually place it inside our game, you'll feel it instantly. It's unreal. It's this moment of like, wait a second, why hasn't games always been like this?
Yeah. It's the dopamine rush of feeling like you've created something or you've earned something and you actually own it, and then it's yours to control and do whatever you want with it, right? You could do nothing, or you could sell it to someone else, or really get utility out of it in games. And I agree, but I think it's something that you don't realize, like Luke said, until you try the flip side. You don't realize how little you get out of other games until you try something that really involves true ownership. And from that perspective, where do you see, let's say, the gaming industry 5 years from now? Do you think that the majority of games are going to be free-to-play games, and the secondary economies are what kind of feeds revenue to these game developers?
Well, I actually see 5 years from now you can think of it almost like a golden age of game development. With what's being unlocked by true ownership, we're going to see people being able to take risks in ways that they can't take now. If you're spending $10 to $100 million or more building a game, you're not just creatively thinking of something fun for people to play. You're analyzing it to death with financial consultants and lawyers, and you have an entire team of people who are really deciding what gets made and what doesn't get made. And that's one of the reasons you look at an app store today and you see games that are awfully similar, especially the ones that are top grossing. So it's really difficult today, when you're faced with a 30% off the top tax, to take any kind of risk. So what I see is 5 years from now, players will own everything in their game. It would be inconceivable for someone to play Fortnite over here that's free to play and I just throw all my money away, and a comparable Fortnite-esque game over here where I actually own something. So given two basically equal game experiences, we all know which one people are going to play. And then what's going to be brilliant is when your 12-year-old son or daughter comes to you and says, "Hey, Dad, I got rent this month because I just scored this epic item and I sold it on OpenSea and I got all this Bitcoin now and I'm paying rent."
Love that. Yeah, and that type of thing too. It also gives, I think it gives gamers new ways to recoup investment in what I think largely just been sunk cost. I guess you can qualify the enjoyment of the game as a reward for the money that you spend, but largely gaming is a fruitless or rewardless experience beyond the experience of playing. There's not a lot of ways to earn, and this could totally flip that on its head and drastically increase the interest in gaming for those who are more casual gamers today, in my opinion.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago that if you bought a game, you actually owned something, whether it was like a DVD or a CD or even a box. You actually had something tangible.
To line all the boxes up on your shelf so you can see all of the cool games you own.
Well, that was one of the things that, as games became multiplayer, online, all of that, and it used to just be about buying the cartridge or whatever, or disc, and then now you realize, oh man, I've been in it with this game for 3 years and I've sunk in a lot of money. Now if I want to go play something else, I'm going to lose out on that, or that's the one thing about all this with blockchain gaming that has been so interesting, is that the interoperability of things and the ability to like actually get that ownership value it's huge. I mean, and if you've got a chunk of those 22 million users we have on Brave that feel like they've been sinking costs into games and still love games, like why not give them something else where they can own it and have it work with other things.
Yeah, this raises a really interesting point, because with blockchain assets and with something that you have that is on the blockchain, it is entirely possible for us to take a game like Townstar, for example, and integrate something like a crypto kitty into it. We can take one NFT and give it functionality in another game. And so that can actually be a very, very useful user acquisition strategy for people and games going forward, to say, okay, look, you had all of this stuff from this old game. Now the new game's coming out and you get to use all of that same stuff. How awesome is that? You better start playing it. That I think is a really important component here.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been telling people, and we maybe don't make this as abundantly clear as possible, if we ever mint an NFT in the Gala Games network, it's going to be useful somewhere at some time in some way, and we're only going to be making things more useful over time. So that's the beauty of that's the commitment that we have to our games and our players, is that we take ownership seriously. So you get to own it, you get to do whatever you want with it, but we're really focused on making those things more useful and more valuable to the player over time.
Yeah, and so that being said, I think when you go to to look at the portfolio of games, or the ecosystem, I guess, for Gala itself, what are the focal points in terms of games? Like, how do these games play? What can players expect if they come and want to try it out? Like, where would you say they should start?
Well, right now, if you come to Gala, there's one game that we have that's live. It's called Townstar. We started with that game because it's a very broadly accessible game. We think something, more than 1 billion people worldwide have played town builders or farming simulation games. So part of our mission is to bring crypto to the masses, and I think that having a mass adoption event could happen with a game like that. So that's one of the things that we're really interested in. But we also have more games coming. Some of these games are really, really exciting, and I can't actually talk about them yet. But when I can talk about them, I'm sure to tell you about it, and maybe we can get on and have another one of these conversations. I'm pretty sure your listeners will be really excited with some of the things that we have brewing in the background. But of course, we can't always can't always say some of the things that are going to happen, because we have regulatory issues that we have to be concerned with, because there's so much uncertainty, in blockchain right now. But there's a lot of fun games out there beyond our own game, and we're happy to support and work with all of them. And so we're really excited about the industry as a whole.
And that's a great point. How is the approach, I guess, in your opinion? Where do you see there are a lot of startups that are working on this, and there are a lot of companies that at least have their ideas about how they can build blockchain games and how they can design things and build new engines, etc. Do you see it being an industry where these multitude of projects start to come together to build out what will largely be the gaming ecosystem of the future, or is it going to be a hard fought battle between them all?
Well, I hope that it isn't a hard fought battle between us all, because it really doesn't need to be. We have, like Jason said earlier, 2.4 billion gamers. It might even be more than that now with COVID and everything.
Mhm.
But the most played blockchain game right now has what, 6,000 daily users. I mean, that's tiny. It's trivial. It's a game of that size would be shut down by any game development company that I'm aware of, right? So
Yeah.
the opportunity is so enormous that literally we all can share in it together, and it'll be potentially decades before we get to the place where we should be fighting each other over the scraps that are left.
Fair enough.
The bounty is enormous.
And I also, and maybe Jason, you can talk to this even. I think there's got to be places where there's got to be places where there's untapped market, right? Market potential, where maybe the issue is, internet access, or like hardware restrictions and things, where there are populations of people that have the desire to play games but simply cannot do so. Is maybe that's somewhere where Gala could point some focus to bring some new users in and start them off in this paradigm?
It's actually one of the things that I think that we're doing a really good job with at the moment. Because most of what we do is HTML5 based browser games, it's really accessible for anyone who has a smartphone to be able to access and to play. I lived in Southeast Asia for 10 years, and their mobile phone penetration is 140%. So even amongst some of the poorer populations in that area, almost everyone has a smartphone. Okay, almost everyone, and anyone can pick up their phone, go to a website, go sit in an internet cafe, pop up Townstar, and start playing. In fact, in the Philippines right now, we have one particular family where it's the grandmother who is the sort of the Townstar leader. They sit in their house, and she has her grandkids all sit around her on their phones, and they all play Townstar together, and they farm various products to send to her so that she can build the high value good and compete.
That's awesome.
I think we're already starting to see that, and I mean it boils down to connectivity and devices, and as long as people have the connectivity, which is almost ubiquitous now, and the devices, which are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, with some of these phones coming out of India now that are like $30-$40 for a smartphone. I think that these problems of access are going away, and it's just about creating a system and a pipeline that brings people in, gives them the tools that they need, hands them the keys to their own digital identity, and says,
Right.
Here, go play.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, Luke.
No, I was just thinking too, like, the usability aspect of it, right? Like also like, making it easy for people to just kind of jump in and learn. And I know like one thing working with Gala and kind of seeing their flow of things, it's just like they're putting the time into making sure that it's easy to get started, which in blockchain is like the biggest barrier, right? Like finally we're getting to the place where scaling is being addressed, but like you can even have the best scaling solution, and if nobody knows how to use it or is afraid to, like it's not going to do anybody any favors. And I think that's one area where like gaming, they have to have usability work. I mean, users are also familiar with digital currencies and tokens and things like that in the games. It's just such a cool fit that it's really interesting for us to get started in this phase, because there is so much bootstrapping going on, and usability is finally coming into focus, where it's like if you can lay that groundwork and then accelerate all of it, as more and more of the usability features give out, it's just a really good recipe for seeing rapid growth.
Yeah, and Luke, if I stay with you for a second, there's now more of a formal collaboration between Gala and Brave. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that and what the future might hold for the browser and gaming ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think like a couple things that we did with Gala that were unique, and we've been working on trying to form strategic partnerships in gaming for many of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. But Gala's doing a lot with NFTs, and NFTs are kind of like coming around. So one of the things we did with them was we partnered on a physical NFT that we have through store.brave.com. Really small, limited edition run, but they've been selling pretty well. And then also the ability to utilize BAT to purchase NFTs as well. And the other thing Gala does a really good job with is this whole NFT auction model. And I think that there's a lot of potential in that. Like even outside of the game scope. So Gala made it so that you could use that BAT to buy NFTs. And so, with this partnership, we were able to kind of, add a bunch of interesting use cases for BAT alongside this long-term vision of like, okay, well, if you've got users earning, BAT every month, and they're playing games, let's build an on-ramp there that makes it easy and, and all that. So I think, this is just the first announcement of what we hope to be our several, over the years. And especially as more games and more features come out and new ways that both of our companies can work together to enhance the reward model that we have and add value that way and get these games in front of a lot of people and then get people to play them together too. I think, there's a lot of focus on that, getting friends and family together and especially times like these. But so the announcement was, it's just kind of like the first step and we kind of covered a lot of ground with it. But, I think, more and more to come, at least from where we're coming from.
It's exciting stuff. I think that, this was something that I was really looking forward to because I'm a huge fan of Brave, huge fan of blockchain gaming in general. And, having looked at Gala and what's already on the board and, as you alluded to, Eric, there's plenty of really cool stuff coming. I'm really excited for what the future holds for the whole industry, but especially for both of your companies' collaboration. And so where can folks that have not heard of Gala or just learning about it now, where can they find you? Where can they follow you on social, start playing the games, etc.?
The best way to find us on social media is go to basically any platform you would like and go Gala Games, or to join our Discord at galagames.chat. You can also view our website at gala.games. And that's basically how you can find us.
Beautiful. I'll throw a link to that down in the description as well as in my own Discord and get everybody over there as well. And of course, Luke for brave.com. Everyone can find that pretty easily. And Eric, were there any closing thoughts for you on the Gala side?
Well, what we should do is we should collaborate on a cool NFT to give away to your subscribers.
You're speaking my language. Let's definitely do that.
I'll send you a message right now.
Yeah, we'll make
perfect
that happen. We'll get something really fun going.
Love it. I'm definitely down for that. And of course, as things come and as these announcements that are cooking right now start to come to fruition, feel free to join me back here. We can talk about it, and maybe we could do a live demo of a game. We can get folks involved and just have fun.
And then we could talk about what your NFT is selling for on OpenSea.
There you go. Hopefully it's not too shabby, eh? Awesome. Well, gentlemen, it was such a great time hanging out and talking with you. Really excited for what the future holds for this industry and really appreciate everyone who's watching. Of course, all the links will be in the description down below, and make sure that you get subscribed if you're not already. But Eric, Jason, Luke, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers.